Hello, people of YouTube. It's Brittany, and her goddess here on the tube and elsewhere. I'm coming on to chit chat about what magic is, what it's for, why we call it magic, and why other things we try to explain away. First, I'll say that there's folk that might want to do something magic because they want to experience wonder or because they want to be a person that receives the accolades, whatever the praise of doing magical things. There's folks that need something to happen, and so they're trying to figure out what way can they make something happen that it wouldn't make sense for the thing to be in their control whatsoever. And there's people that are just living life, just doing what they do and what have you, and people consider them magical folk. Why do we call stuff magic, some things magic, and some things not magic? Really, I think that has a lot to do with the unexplained. Some people are comfortable with, I don't know how that happens, or nobody knows how that happens or how that works, and other people want an explanation. People that want an explanation, some people want to know the science, and some people are comfortable with the explanation being magic or God, angels, the spirits, and leave it at that. Um, magic, magical stuff, I think, is more in the forefront at this period of time because more than ever, we're having a blend of different people's perspective on why things occur than ever. So there's really um, profound differences amongst people where some people are like, somebody is doing stuff. Other people are like, nobody is doing stuff. This is just the way things are. It's nature, or there's some scientific explanation, whatever, what have you. I come from the frame of mind of trying to just live life and experiencing extraordinary stuff in negative and positive directions. When you're moved in a certain direction, you're moved in a certain direction. And people that are not conscious of that, because the circumstances haven't been loud enough for them to have that kind of experience, those are people that think that, it's strictly cause and effect. If I do this, then that will happen. People are like this or that. But I'm just going to say something weird and unusual, just made up or whatever. So if you're making soup, you're making tomato soup, and uh, you put the lid on and you leave it to simmer, and you come back 20 minutes later and it's potato soup. You're you're gonna freak out. You're gonna say, "What the heck? I know I put tomatoes in this pot." Then second stage is you start to question yourself. Did I hallucinate? Maybe I don't know the difference between a tomato and a potato anymore. I'm just crazed, delusional or something. You try to you tell somebody because spontaneously, if you're not alone, you're gonna tell somebody. Would you believe? I'm just like, I was cooking tomato soup. It turned into potato soup. First response is probably going to be that you're nuts and crazed. And if it's a one off situation, that's just one of those things that can live in your memory. Maybe you tell no one else. Maybe you tell people every now and again. But if it's a one off, it just is what it is. But if that's the beginning of a trail of activity, like you mowed the grass and you came out the next day and then it was flowers. You didn't plant flowers, but everywhere that you mowed, there's flowers now. Like anything that is extraordinary, if you start to experience a bunch of stuff, then it forces you to acknowledge there's something going on. Some people easily will say there's something going on, and some people it takes like a lot of stuff or like really big stuff. Some people will immediately say it's them. Other folks will say it's the place or the time or the circumstances. Some of that is guessing, but some of that is also intuitive. I I watched a show on the Netflix a couple years ago now. And it was one of those like scary shows, whatever, scary stories. And on this show, like it was basically like people that experience some paranormal stuff. And one guy, like he basically realized that he was a medium because he went to a medium to find out, like to figure out what was going on. Because activity kept being attracted to him, like stuff kept occurring. And it didn't matter where he was. He could move. Like, he's not trying to do anything specific. Didn't have a particular interest in the paranormal. Not necessarily his family was religious. But anyway, eventually, like, he went to a medium, and the medium said that you're a medium. And that's how things started to not necessarily calm down, as in less frequent activity, but then he could manage it because he's not trying to get away. Um, I'm having it in my mind box thinking about Scorpio and the eighth house. if uh, if you got some Scorpio activity in your chart, and I know I've said everybody has all the signs, but I mean Scorpio activity, what I would classify as Scorpio activity, is planets in Scorpio or the eighth house. If you've got Pluto in Scorpio, Sun or Moon in Scorpio, Sun or Moon in the eighth house, Mercury in Scorpio, Mercury in the eighth house. These are pretty loud indicators that there's going to be some spiritual chit chat in your life. Some extraordinary paranormal stuff. Now, other things that can manifest are like trauma, abuse, being stolen from, living like a vagabond, and people thinking that, that you're a risk to their property. Can I say sexy things? If not, being seen as a highly sexual person, encountering an extremely sexual person or multiple people that are just like considered like, I don't know, some sort of sexual deviant. Being into that. Like if there was a show, I'm thinking of another show, it was like freaking like weird kinks or whatever, and like there was some chicks that were like in a pool of jello. They like to wrestle in the jello in bikinis. Just like, I guess that doesn't have to be sexual, but I think that the proclivity for that would probably be associated with either Scorpio or Leo. Could be Leo or fifth house, because they were totally playful about this. Um, Investigations. If you are get into looking into unsolved mysteries, if you're into any of those like murder shows, detective work, again, psychic research, spiritual stuff, this is all eighth house. This is not necessarily religious, although you could be a religious person or come from a religious family. But that's more like religion and philosophy. I'd say is ninth house or Sagittarius kind of stuff. Eighth house is experience. So, pulling that back to it's like focusing on the magical conversation. This isn't for everybody, which that's what makes it so obvious, is that some people live their life and nothing unusual really happens, even if they look for unusual. Like, oh, I went to the haunted place, the known to be haunted place, and witnessed nothing. These people might like the silly side of Halloween. I know it's Summerween. I'm seeing a lot of like Halloween videos and stuff. And I'm like, oh, how fun. But my perspective has changed a bit. It's strange, but also makes sense. Where now, like looking at the silly witch that might be green with a big wart on the nose and the pointy hat, I'm just like, how many of us see a witchy woman that's green with a pointy hat? Like the green is symbolic. The pointy hat is symbolic. Someone can make a video about the cone of power and where the pointy hat idea comes from. But a lot of stuff just it's like it doesn't make sense anymore. You like as kids for Halloween, you see the little silly mummies. It's just like, no, that's rude. Like disrespectful. Seriously, silly mummies. No, don't do that. That's racist. Um, the the jack o' lantern. I'm like, seriously, what are we thinking about? What we see, like, what's going on? That's a spirit, which is a person's face represented in the pumpkin, and so this is what we're saying they look like. Like, oh, come on now. I'm just like, it would be silly as heck. Now the art and like the creative, like people that make a whole scene in the jack o' lantern, I'm like, that's beautiful. Great job. But I'm having a harder time with some of the other stuff. Am I going to grouch over everybody that's enjoying silly Halloween? No. The skeletons in the yard doing wild stuff. It's like some stuff is funny. But also some stuff I just can't get with anymore. Because skeletons aren't just skeletons, skeletons are representation of a person. So we as adult folks, we laugh about some things. Some things are still funny and silly. And other things it's just like, no. I wouldn't want people to laugh or glorify me dying that way. I think that's something to consider, something to think about. Dark thoughts that some people don't consider, that somebody is gonna find you dead one day. Somebody, whether they find you or you die right in front of them, die with them, and like somebody's gonna see you. Can you imagine people thinking it's funny? What kind of scenario can you think up that you think your dead body would be funny in? So, things to consider. Again, I'm not trying to just ruin Halloween for everyone. It's not fun anymore. Brittany's gotta poo poo over everything. It's like that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to bring up some considerations. A couple of years ago, Spirit Halloween started getting some backlash about the costumes because people started to talk about it. It's just like, okay, offensive here, offensive there. It's just that the demographics that were getting hit up by the offense weren't really saying anything. And it's just because at a certain level of disrespect, you know the people don't care about you. So what reason is there to bring up the issue? Well, to shame the hell out of people is the reason. There should be some shame in trying to make fun of folks. Make fun of mean folks. If you're going to make fun of folks and not making fun of folks just trying to live their life and mind their business. I saw, and this pops up in the tarot crowd, being like it's a derogatory term, it's offensive to call someone a gypsy or to have a gypsy costume is offensive. Maybe not to everyone that could fall under that category, because I saw a show where they called themselves gypsies and are very proud and have a great time. But I think that just like using the N word, like there's some browns that use it freely. It's a term of endearment. And some that it's just like, no, don't call me that. I don't use that word. Let's not. So some people would say gypsy, some people would not. I've learned to play it by ear again with the tarot crowd. Some people are very comfortable with the sillier side of card reading. People having fun with it and the different decor. I'm glad to see it. It's like honestly from where I'm sitting, I'm glad to see the representation at all. And I think that at this point in time in society, we can pretty much call it, like we can see it pretty quickly what's rude and what isn't. And where people don't know because they are not part of the culture, not part of the demographic, they can be corrected quickly. Like an example that I thought was kind of silly is, but some don't feel that way. Is seeing like shirts that say "oh melanin popping" or whatever. I'm just like, why exactly is this necessary? Like, if the person is close enough to see you in the T-shirt, they can see that you're a brown-skinned person. So, like, what do you mean? But I kind of get it. I'm like, okay, you're saying you're proud, you're happy. Okay, so I shush. And like, look at the time, once upon a time when it's like the Spice Girls, and Spice Girls' motto was girl power. Very obviously, they're girls. Like, they're girls. Anybody that says girl power, you're probably a girl. But it was meant to be like empowering. Say, like, proud to be a girl, still feel really strong even though you're a girl. You can be whatever you want to be, even though you're a girl. Like, we're great, not in spite of being a girl. We're very happy. So it's just funny, um, interesting how times change. But yeah, back to the magical conversation. That really, like, that includes religion, because see, just the way that my mind works, there was a time when, like, and this is something I still enjoy this, so every now and again I'm looking this stuff up. But tarot journal, like tarot journaling versus journaling people, prayer journals, Bible journaling, and people with a book of shadows or book of mirrors, witchy book, grimoire. And I'm just like, we're all basically doing a similar thing, same thing, different ways doing the same thing. Even starting to look into art journals and sketchbooks, I'm like, basically the same thing, visual art. Okay. And so these are ways of identifying ourselves or finding community if you're open to community. But how one becomes prominent for their practice is because of result. And people wonder, how is that? Is it your methods? Is it who loves you spiritually? Is it like the length of time you've practiced? Is it the strength of the feelings you have as you're doing your work? Like, what is it? And I don't think there's really an answer. Any which way, like, if you're on a spiritual journey, you're trying to arrive at peace and happiness, love, acceptance, understanding. So, however you do it, whatever works. And so, if I was advising somebody on what path to choose, I'd say the one that you're oriented towards. And if it changes over time, that's fine. Allow it to happen, because any friction from you is what causes the stress. I spent a lot of time, a lot of hours working on a grimoire. And it started out being a book of what could be considered magical information. And then it turned into like the confidence area. Like, this is just to back me up so that I could look in there every now and again and be like, oh, yeah, I was on to something. And then I started to turn it into more of a tarot book. But after I finished the tarot, I didn't refer back to the book anymore because it was like, what? That defeats the purpose of the cards. I'm like, what is it? I'm like, this doesn't make no sense. I made a book about a book. But then again, I'm just like, I read tarot books. Like, I wouldn't say that I wouldn't read any more tarot books ever again. So it's not a waste of time. But the purpose of the tarot is to be a book, though. It's like if you get a Bible about the Bible, or like a book about the Bible, anyone that has spent time with the Bible would be like, yeah, that's useful. It can be useful because there's another opinion, another perspective, there's some chit chat, it's commentary. And that's probably where it came about, where there's Bibles with the commentary in there. But this is shaping opinion. People should be aware of that the more layers of interpretation over a text, you're getting intel indirectly. It's already translated. I'm like, you're already dealing with a Bible that's been translated from a different language. So that's the interpretation of what was written already, which was written way later after events, which is still from a compilation of events from different cultures put together in one book from different languages. Just like, it gets heavy. So, um, yeah, and my advising for that is go with the additional interpretation as you feel it, as you need it. Don't think that there's a rule that stuff has to be interpreted by other people for you to receive it. It doesn't necessarily have to be. That be business, and also perspective shaping. I'm thinking about this movie. Ooh, I'm like, what was that movie called? I think it had Jake Gyllenhaal. I get them mixed up. I'm so sorry. There's two separate humans that look very similar to me, but and they've joked about it. But anyway, there was a movie about this guy that was becoming a reporter, a news guy, and he had shown up to like a murder, like something really bad, and he was the first person there, and he covered the story, and like this boosted his career, something major, and then that turned into a thing, and like he was starting to like crack, where I don't know if he was like, he wasn't orchestrating crime, but he was like, this turned into a thing because it was super competitive and worth money to be the first person on the scene reporting such crime news. And thinking about the perspective of that, putting together the words, what is going to be said during a report, what angle is it going to be shot at. I think he was also like showing a lot. He got getting the camera guy to like show different things. That's been spoken about when it comes to paparazzi. Like there was a booming time where the paparazzi was just completely out of hand, like run people off the road or whatever, just really acting crazy with folks to get the best pictures, being the first one in people's business. And in a way, I'd say it's just about worse. Like it's worse and the same, because now the standard, like for fame, the famous people, like if heck, if you're any kind of popular, people might find some real thrills in telling on you. If they find any sort of intel or see you in some sort of instance, you ain't gotta be Britney Spears, Paris Hilton, Kim Kardashian. You don't have to be there or out and about at events, because that's another thing that people would say, like, oh, they asked for it, basically. They wanted to be famous. Well, someone that I mentioned by and by is Pamela Anderson, who wanted to be famous, yes. Wanted to be an actress, yes. Had been a model, yes. But she did not ask for her honeymoon videos to be released. So I really enjoyed that, like documentary, that like show on Pam and Tommy. They did a great job. For any of us, like '90s kids that uh, were of the time frame where Pamela Anderson was like everywhere. She's an icon. Just being it, like feeling that moment because of that show, it was freaking great. Anyway, um, psychic stuff, magical stuff. You don't have to be deep in the thick of things to get a response every so often, or for something. There are some people that have just one experience or something in their whole life. If you have one supernatural experience, that's that's wild. If you have many, I'm like, that's really loud. It's really loud. So consider what reason for that. I I stay in my lane, and regardless whether people want to try to get me to perform parlor tricks, I'm just like, I can only do what I can do, and that's me knowing that I chit chat, and this is a relationship and a sensitivity. You can't hit me up and be like, levitate the table. It's just like that. That wouldn't be me. That wouldn't be me levitating the table. I do not know how to do such a thing. I don't even know what the purpose of that would be. And if I come in a room and the table starts floating, I'm a freak out. Just like everybody else. I'm a freak out. I'm not saying I'll run out of the room. I'm not saying that I don't like I wouldn't be willing to witness, but I'm saying that I'm not going to be sitting there chilling like I see tables floating around on the regular. No. So, yeah, in that regard, like I'm mystified also. When I see somebody doing some telekinetic stuff, I'm like, wow, that is very interesting. I believe it. If you're interested in some real life spoon bending chit chat, Dean Radin, scientist, is someone to look up. But anyway, I think I've said about all I have to say about that. If you made it this far in the video, I appreciate you. I'm sending lots of love your way and many blessings on the journey. I'll see you in the next one.